Welcome back to another video. This time I will cover Robert Breedlove's Masters and Slaves of Money, which is an excellent article, and it's more about our current fiat money system instead of Bitcoin itself. However, looking at the current system is the most effective way to highlight why Bitcoin even exists. Make sure to check out the full article linked in the video description. There are also 3 long version talks that Robert did to expand on what he outlined in the article. Now let's go right in with the opening statement. Money is a tool for trading human time. Central banks, the modern era masters of money, wield this tool as a weapon to steal time and inflict wealth inequality. History shows us that the corruption of monetary systems leads to moral decay, social collapse, and slavery. As the temptation to manipulate money has always proven to be too strong for mankind to resist, the only antidote for this poison is an incorruptible money: Bitcoin. Being able to manipulate and counterfeit money has been an enabler for slavery. For example, most people in Africa used glass beads as their money. Europe was more advanced technologically and able to produce glass beads efficiently. What followed this seemingly innocuous exportation of glass beads was a multi-decade plundering of African wealth, natural resources, and ultimately, time. The glass beads were later on called something else: slave beads. Slave beads, one of history's many monetary systems weaponized by counterfeiters, became instrumental in the multi-century transatlantic slave trade. The same thing also happened in other areas of Africa where they didn't use glass beads but panos as the money of choice. The Portuguese were able to cheaply produce these cloth strips and exchange them for resources. And we can actually draw the first parallel from the past to the present here. The panos producers in Portugal became a state-sponsored monopoly. This company enforced the use of panos for tax payments, to forcibly denominate slave trade contracts, and to hire soldiers. To name just one similar non-coincidental example today, the US government enforces the use of dollars for tax collections, as legal tender, as the nominal currencies for contracts on oil, the energy slave of modernity, and as the international reserve currency. Central banks have an exclusive privilege to produce money at near zero cost, enabling them to confiscate wealth from all users of dollars at will. This theft done by central banks is similar to the theft Europe did to Africa. And not only that, because of the Cantillon effect, it's a redistribution of that wealth, making the poor poorer and the rich richer. Whether past, present, or future, having a monopoly on money production boils down to this. Those who can monopolize money production become de facto currency counterfeiting operations that steal human labor in perpetuity. When free market forces are manipulated, producers gain an asymmetric ability to set prices without regard to customer preferences, thereby converting economic democracies into dictatorships and freedom into tyranny. For money, this implies monopolists can acquire human time, also known as labor, in the marketplace at an unfair price. Said differently, money monopolists can steal human time, a malevolent power that effectively makes them slave masters. Or said differently again, an exclusive right to produce money without regard for competitive market pressures is an apparatus of enslavement, a vile privilege that monopolists can only preserve through deception and violence. So, as we saw, a monopoly on money production is a bad thing. Competition is absolutely key. Crony capitalism is dysfunctional, uneconomical, and morally wrong. In free markets, competition is the set of games played to discover satisfaction of wants. Each entrepreneur places bets, investments of capital, money, and time, as they attempt to prove their competitors wrong in the marketplace by delivering better, faster, or cheaper solutions to the problems their customers want solved. Market competition is the catalyst of honest work and true progress for civilization. In this competitive game, the result boards are the P&L statements of companies, and the points they are denominated in is called money. Money is not the root of all evil, it's simply a tool, but a tool that is currently manipulated by monopolies. Money is a temporal trading tool, but as we've seen, it can also be wielded maliciously to steal time. In the same way, a hammer can be used to build a house or bash a skull. Freedom of speech plays an important role, just like the freedom in market does. Freedom of speech is essential to a peaceful society, as our ideas must be free to clash and resolve conflicts so that our bodies don't. Co-evolution of craftsmanship and verbal articulation led naturally to trade. And quite simply, the most exchangeable thing in any trading society is its most important tool: money. As discussed in previous videos, money clearly falls in the sphere of communication. It's our language with which we communicate value to each other. Placing limitations on the use of this language, the purpose of central banks, is commensurately catastrophic to restricting the freedom of speech, which can lead to absurdities like illegal numbers. Free speech digs the grave for despotism, whereas its suppression is the trademark of totalitarian regimes. Suppression of free speech is obvious in totalitarian regimes. I mean, just think of Soviet Russia, the decree of the press, or think about burning books in Nazi Germany, to just name two examples. For money, governments corrupt the pricing mode of comparative expression by constantly violating the supply of money via inflation, while simultaneously compelling its demand via legal tender and tax collection laws. An inability to speak the truth with words or prove others wrong in the marketplace with prices is the death of liberty. As the 20th century so painfully taught us, restricting the logos is a slippery slope toward totalitarianism. Free expression in all forms is the antecedent to proper moral action. The ability to create money leads to the ability to buy human time, because humans sacrifice their time to get the money. Clearly, a tool that can command human time is an object of great temptation, as it is a potent source of power defined by physics as work over time. A lust for power is the motivation of most warfare, typically involving attempts to forcibly acquire capital, food, or territory. And a lack of power is closely related to unhappiness, which makes its consolidation alluring. As Philo Judaeus said, no slave is really happy, for what greater misery is there than to live with no power over anything, including oneself? Natural money has been hijacked by artificial tyrants. The reason we call states sovereigns today is only because they are the gangs that hold most of the world's freely chosen money, gold. During the 20th century, our money declined from being real money, namely gold and silver, to IOUs, meaning you get a piece of paper that you can exchange into real money, to just the paper that is not backed by real money any longer since 1971. The catastrophic consequences have been outlined before, so I won't go into detail here. In effect, fiat currencies are uncollateralized debts undergoing slow-motion default while their use is forced on society. All the while, central banks continue to hoard the real money, gold, and perform final settlement with one another in this authentic, free market-selected medium of exchange. Seen this way, printing money actually refers to currency counterfeiting, the production of false promises, as currencies are no longer tied to real money. Said simply, fiat currency is a living lie. Regardless of whether you consider it a tool or a weapon, manipulating money supplies is objectively useful for only one thing: inflicting wealth inequalities by stealing time. And inflicting wealth inequalities is only one thing. The other is that while honest money encourages righteous action, dishonest money induces moral hazard. There's a perfect example in the article that really shows you why fiat money encourages you to produce suboptimal products. This is also why people like Safety Namu speak about fiat food, fiat art, and so on that spring from fiat money. Say you are a winemaker selling a bottle of wine for $20. You know that your central bank printed trillions of dollars to double the money supply with the claimed goal to quote-unquote save the economy. You now have 3 different options, but they are all bad. First, continue selling your wine for $20, knowing that the value of each dollar has declined 50% due to inflation. For simplicity, we will ignore the spatio-temporal unevenness of inflation. Second, use cheaper ingredients, less dedicated production, or water down your wine. You decrease the quality of your wine to be able to still sell it for $20. You create fiat wine. Or third, double the selling price of the wine to $40. If the winemaker chooses the first option, he incurs a 50% loss. If he decides to water down his wine, he defrauds his customers by selling them an inferior product. If he doubles his price to maintain quality, he risks losing customers to less honest competitors who are willing to compromise on quality. Since diluting wine with water is difficult to detect for non-connoisseurs and offers an immediate financial gain, all winemakers face strong incentives to defraud their customers when inflation strikes. The solution is to have a money with a 0% terminal inflation rate, with no monopoly in control to get rid of this moral hazard. The solution is called Bitcoin. And this is where we'll end this video. It's already a lot of food for thought, the article is only halfway completed, so there will be a second part out later. In the second part, we will look at pyramid schemes and more specifically why fiat currencies are the biggest pyramid scheme of all time. And we will also put the time stolen into actual numbers. Small spoiler ahead, under the fiat standard a lot more time has been stolen compared to the transatlantic slave trade or the building of pyramids by slaves in ancient Egypt. If you enjoyed the video and hopefully also learned something from it, I would appreciate it if you leave a like and subscribe to the channel for further content, and then I see you next time.